It's my great pleasure to welcome Faisal Zia, who will be talking about the Akita Foundation. This is part of SUSFest 2025, which is connecting local to global communities and is linking to Albans to Baffa, Pakistan. The Akita Foundation is a registered charity working on sustainable practices and solutions to help communities in rural areas of Pakistan. So it should be a very interesting talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Faisal Zia. I'm from Akifa Foundation. I'm one of the trustees there, and shout out to my mum and dad who are also trustees there. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the journey of Akifa Foundation. So what is it, why it was set up, what was the reasoning behind it, the 3 pillars, and also the collaboration between SUSFest. Because I see this as something that started off with 1 or 2 little actions, but is now actually having impact, system-wide impact in Pakistan, in Baffa, in our village there. So I'll be touching on that. I've got my designated clicker with me, who is my grandson, or my son even, I call him the grandson. But he is the grandson for my parents. So if we go to the next slide, thank you. Okay, so those are the areas of focus. Akifa Foundation, our focus, people, planet and well-being. Those are the 3 key pillars that we have across the board. The collaboration with SUSFest, and then we're going to talk a little bit around the Warm Winter Initiative for 2025. If we go to the next slide. So who is Akifa? This is one of the questions that we get quite often. This is in memory of my grandmother, who is my dad's mum. She was a pillar of the community, not just here in the UK for everybody that met her, but also in Pakistan. And when I say a pillar of the community, this is a lady who came from a place where there was no education for women. She was self-taught. She could speak 5 languages. She could read Arabic, she could read Urdu, she could read Persian. And through that, miraculous woman, my father was born. Now, the story goes that my father was amongst the first in the village to actually go to university, to become a lawyer, to become a teacher, and then came to the UK. And the reason why I'm giving the presentation is because this is kind of like a continuation of the story, that we want to kind of build on the stuff that my grandma did, that my parents did, and carry it forward, hopefully for future generations as well, to get involved in this. Whenever I see this picture, it always reminds me of the general warmth that she had. There was never a distinction between somebody inside the family, outside the family. She was a community pillar. And that's very much so driven by her name, Akifa. If we go to the next one. So, the 3 pillars. Now, we call these 3 pillars, but really I see it as more of a triangle, because all 3 of these things are so closely connected to one another. People, it's about empowering individuals. The planet is about the world that we live in, and the well-being is about helping underserved communities across the world. Now, when I say across the world, specifically we focus on St. Albans and Baffa in Pakistan, which is the village that we have. If we go to the next slide. At the heart of it is always people. Now, when you talk about planet, when you talk about people, when you talk about well-being, this is what it's about. Making an impact on the ground, even, as I say, even if it's just a single drop in the ocean, just a single drop, that causes the ripples and the waves that we'll see in the coming slides. Mum and Dad are quite active when they're there in Pakistan. They do all sorts of different projects, whether it's around education, outreach, whether it's about funding school fees, funding uniforms. These are some of the kind of areas that we cover as part of the project. If we go to the next one. Now, why specifically Pakistan? Obviously, we have a family link, so it goes without saying, but why specifically Pakistan in terms of the climate side of things? Pakistan ranks amongst the countries that is most impacted by climate change. Some say top 5, some say top 10, depends on which report you read, but generally speaking, if you're in that top 10, Pakistan contributes only 1% of greenhouse gases. So irrespective of the fact that wherever it stands, you're only contributing 1%, but the impacts are being felt on the ground. Add into that the complexity of the World Bank basically saying that approximately 45% of the population in Pakistan live below the poverty line. You've got a challenge around climate, you've got a challenge around how do you deal with the devastation that continues to get worse and worse year on year, and also in that impoverished environment. And that's where, you know, Akif Foundation kind of comes in. We're a grassroots organisation, so we don't claim to solve all of the problems in the world, but we've got to make a start somewhere. And a lot of the inspiration has come from Susfest because of the work that's been done here, because of some of the projects that have been done here. The River Ver Valley Society is one of the projects that we did linked to cleaning the river in Pakistan, in the Syrian Valley. So there's a lot of crossovers, a lot of parallels. If we go to the next one. So working with Susfest, 2017 was the mayoral year. This is where Dad first had the exposure to Susfest. 2020, it was the local to global connecting Pakistan. 2021, this was local to global connecting Pakistan and Bangladesh. And then more recently, it's been about the cleanup with the Ver Society Bag for Buffer campaign and the Susfest Water Well fundraise. You can see one of the bags here as well, very limited edition. We're going to be, this year, for 2026, we're going to be having some of the bags here in the UK as well, so you'll be able to benefit from that as well. If we go to the next one. Now, to give you an idea of when I say floods get worse, I've kind of just pitched this from the BBC, so hopefully you should be able to hear the sound. But this will give you an idea of some of the challenges that happen. Now, 2023, we had the worst ever floods in Pakistan. 1/3 of the country was underwater, to give you an idea. This is what happened just a few months back. Go.
Powerful and devastating waters. The deadliest day of this year's monsoon. Lush green land overrun by a dangerous current. Bridges destroyed, locals and tourists stranded. Relying on emergency teams to help them to safety. Here, residents urge a woman to trust them. They're yelling "get out" as her car is overwhelmed by the waters. Some areas have been granted respite from the brutal rains, but the wreckage is still there. Homes collapsed, livelihoods wiped out, dozens of lives lost.
All our institutions are deployed to save people's lives and protect their properties. We have set up a control room to monitor the situation.
Rescue teams are surveying the damage and searching for survivors. Pakistan is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change, which scientists say can cause more intense monsoons like these. Yet the country is responsible for less than 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions, which warm our planet. Communities are now trying to pick up the pieces, bracing themselves for warnings of more flooding and danger in the days ahead. Azadeh Mashiri, BBC News, Islamabad.
Now, flooding here in the UK is something that we'll get lots of advance notice of. We'll probably be able to put some barriers in place, and we'll probably be able to do some activities in order to prevent the worst of the damage. Certainly we'll get the news notifications and there'll be this sort of thing. A new term that's new to me, especially with flooding, is something called cloudburst. Now, I've never heard of this term before, but it's something that's becoming increasingly a problem. When we think of rain here in the UK, think a watering can, and you get an idea of how rain happens here in the UK. With a cloudburst, think of a water balloon and a needle being taken to that. It's literally a deluge. And quite often there is no notification, there is no news, there is no alerts, there is nothing that can be done in order to address this. And that's really where this scientist can help explain a little bit better what cloudburst is. Haytham?
Well, a cloudburst is very simply a burst of rain.
Flash floods and landslides in Pakistan's northwest have killed more than 300 people after days of heavy monsoon rains. Officials say the destruction was triggered by a rare weather phenomenon called a cloudburst. But what exactly is a cloudburst?
So when there's lots of water coming in the thunderstorm, then it comes down in a relatively short period of time, so it looks like a burst. And so that's why it's called a cloudburst.
These intense downpours often cause flash floods, as rivers and drainage systems cannot cope with the sudden volume of water. In many areas, deforestation makes things worse. Without trees to hold the soil, heavy rains washes it away, causing deadly landslides. Chan says that the increasing frequency of heavy rainfall is largely driven by global warming.
The reason why we expect to have more heavy rain is because global warming tends to allow more water vapor to be present in the atmosphere, and so therefore when you squeeze the water vapor out, you can get heavier rain.
So I think we've seen that in the UK, certainly over the last few years. The rain is getting a lot more intense, but cloudburst is something that I hope doesn't come to the UK in terms of the weather, but it's getting worse, and as there's more energy, as there's more warming, there's going to be more vapor in the air, and cloudbursts are more prone to be affecting the world that we live in. Now if we go to the next one. One more. This is buffer. So when I say no notification, no news alerts, nothing, this is literally in the middle of the night, this is what happens. You can imagine here we would get an idea of 2-3 days in advance, a week in advance. We know that there's going to be a storm, there's going to be rain, but this is literally buildings collapsing in the middle of the night in our village. No notification at all. We'll go to the next one. Now, obviously the devastation is absolutely huge across Pakistan. And as a small organisation, we can't save everybody. But what we can do is do our little bit. Now, as part of some of the work that Aquifer Foundation has been doing, is that we've been establishing water wells. Water wells for underserved communities where we don't have access to water. It's not like here in the UK where you can just get a tap, go straight to a tap. You literally need water wells to service the community. As part of the work efforts out of the floods, how do we ensure that the water is safe? So we partnered with the local university and a couple of other organisations as well. 20 wells were identified as being affected by the floodwaters, and that was the need to clean, purify, and make sure that they're safe for people to continue using them. So one of the small kind of projects that we worked on. If we go to the next one. Now, taking a step back, planet is at the heart of what we do in Aquifer Foundation. So it's not just about water wells, but we also look at tree plantation because deforestation is one of the causes of climate problems, climate actions. 4,000 trees have been planted as a result of the work that we've done through Aquifer Foundation, and increasingly we're going to look to do some more campaigns around this. If we go to the next one. And it's not just about, okay, we can plant a tree. Yeah, of course we can. But it's also about the awareness, because by getting the young people involved, they have a vested interest in the future that they are going to be living in. And by educating them, by giving them, I just say the sense of values, that it's about ownership of the ecosystem and the world that they're going to be living in, it helps develop that education. And education, kind of like to that triangle that we were talking about. It's about well-being, it's about planet, it's about people. Bringing all three of those together is where I say the magic happens. If we go to the next one, the Forever Bags project. Now, here in the UK, it's great. We've got a bin, we've got a refuse collection, we've got trucks that will come and take the refuse away. In areas of Pakistan, there is no system like that. There's literally open landfill areas that people go and put rubbish away. Plastic is a massive problem, and this was one of the projects that we established around, can we do reusable bags? Because we see the same initiatives here in the UK. Shops have stopped selling plastic bags, they're using canvas bags. Can we do an initiative in Pakistan where we do the same thing? Through the work with Susfest, 500 bags, Christmas bags, were distributed through the village. And it's kind of cool because you go to the village and you can see those bags, literally one of those bags being used by people. Again, it's a drop in the ocean, but this is where we've got to start making these small impacts and these changes. If we go to the next one, you can see some of the bags being distributed there. These are woven, reusable bags, they're eco-friendly bags, so ensuring that we keep on the sustainability side. If we go to the next one, Ramadan food support. So obviously in terms of the number of families, it's an underserved community. During Ramadan, we like to make sure that there's no family that's left hungry. So during the fasting, obviously it's a challenging time. We supported 80 families in 2022, 2025 it's now 160 families, and the numbers are getting more and more. The need is absolutely huge. This is where I see the problem, is that how do we try and make an impact? Go to the next one. Now I was talking about the ripple effect, but this is where I see something really special starting with Akifa Foundation and the collaboration with SUSFest. Taken in isolation, these are small little projects. I call them kind of like catalyst projects. These are small little projects that start a little bit of change. Sorry, problems with the microphone. These are impact projects, small projects, catalyst projects. They start somewhere, but what they lead to is the ripple effect. If we go to the next one, through the work that we've been doing around awareness, whether it's planting trees, whether it's going to do the environmental projects, whether it's looking at river cleanup or refuse collection, these sorts of projects kind of start building a sense of community, similar to what we have here with SUSFest, is that it's a community of people who all have the same common interest of improving the world that we live in. And through that, if we go to the next one, the Buffer Environmental Forum has actually been established. Now I see this as quite a lot of parallels with SUSFest, in the sense that there's now 85 members across 13 different organisations in Buffer that are all coming together. It's a mixture of local government, it's a mixture of NGOs, it's a mixture of the local universities, charities, all coming together to help support and drive environmental impact in Buffer in Pakistan. Because it's the power of many, ultimately. It's about education, it's about improving the experience of the people who live there, and it's also linking, when we say local to global, they call out local to global and SUSFest as one of the key pillars of helping to drive the way forward. If we go next. Now, catalysts result in system change. This is a new project that's just come out, literally, I think in the last couple of weeks, Dad. When we think about refuse collection, we've done the river project. You clean up a river, you clean up the plastic pollution from the river. A year later, we get back to the same situation because the system isn't in place to ensure that it's dealt with. Then we have the canvas bags. Okay, let's cut out the plastics, let's get the canvas bags in place. We'll put the canvas bags in place and it reduces the amount of impact. But one of the new things that's happened is that the KfW, which is a German bank and has a development bank, have now helped with the local municipality to provide refuse rickshaws, which is something new. These are basically rubbish bins, rubbish collection that can be taken away by the local municipality. So we get away from this whole idea of landfill. We're now putting a system in place through the work, through the Buffer Puckle Welfare Association and other partners, to put system change in place. And
is that the first time that's ever
This is the first time.
there's ever been any refuse collection?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So this is what I mean by like system change. It started from a ripple, it started from river, it started from getting awareness, it started from community, all coming together and now actually making a real impact on the ground and putting the systems in place to make the change. Now, this is kind of where I say it's kind of like a bit of an indirect impact. When I say indirect impact, if you think SUSFest, we take some of the learnings from here, we move them to Pakistan, we try and implement them in Pakistan, take some of the learnings of what we have here. If we go to the next one, Aquifer Foundation last year, as part of the activities that we had, we did some fundraising with SUSFest as one of the activities. And now I think it was May time. We did some fundraising here when we had the SUSFest in town, and as a result of that, one of the wells was actually funded, and I'm really, really pleased to say that the bore was actually completed last week. So we've got some pictures that we can share with you. If we go to the next one. So this is where we say an underserved community. This bore, and this is a direct impact from SUSFest, 25 houses in this local area are now going to be provided with water from a borehole. Now, there's a distinction between wells and boreholes. Wells can be 25 meters deep, but boreholes, because of the increasing challenge around climate change, the water table is getting a lot lower. So now there's less of a reliance on water wells. We need to do boring, which is obviously a lot more complicated and a lot more costly. Dad was telling me a fact that previously it used to be 80 meters in terms of the water table. Now we're hitting 120 meters, and it can go a lot more deeper. In some areas, it's down to 200 meters in terms of the boring for the water supply. If we go to the next one.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. On behalf of myself, the people of Idgar Dambara, and the President and the members of the Pakkal Welfare Society, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Executive Director of the Aquifer Foundation and all the team members who initiated this water bore project in such an underprivileged area. The Aquifer Foundation Water Well Project is a beautiful reflection of the local to global connection. It embodies the Aquifer Foundation unwavering commitment to linking communities, sharing sustainable solutions, and promoting mutual understanding. This initiative seeks to strengthen the community of St. Albans, UK through SUSFest 2025 and the community of Idgar Dambara Bafa Pakkal, Pakistan through compassion, collaboration, and a shared sense of purpose. Through this water bore, more than 25 families will benefit, inshallah. May Allah Almighty reward the Director of Aquifer Foundation, Mr. Iqbal Zia Saab, the representative of the Aquifer Foundation, Mr. Ehsan Saab, and all the stakeholders who contributed to this noble effort in this world and in the hereafter. Thank you.
So you can see, go to the next one. These are just some of the impacts. So Aquifer Foundation is about people, it's about planet, it's about profit. And when I say ripples, it's actually turning into waves, because now you can see that it's about taking this next step, one step forward. We can see with the refuse rituals, where did that start from? That started from refuse collection, that started from rivers, that started from small little projects, these isolated catalysts, that came as an idea from Gail and SUSFest and all some of the ideas taken from here. The River Ver Society, I always look back at that project and always think how incredible it is that we actually had a presentation from the River Ver Society to the people in Pakistan. They then took that on, and actually it resulted in them going to clean up the river and them going to actually deal with it. And this is where I say it starts from a ripple, one action, one simple thing. Sometimes we think, okay, we're just doing a little bit, we're doing our little bit, but what does that actually mean? What impact is that actually having? This is a real impact from SUSFest, directly, indirectly, and directly. So yeah, with that being said, Aquifer Foundation Warm Winter Appeal. Winter is already upon us, and we're going to be launching our new campaign. It's going to be to provide young people with warm winter clothing, so jackets, socks, scarves, uniforms. It's £15 per child. like I say, it's a drop in the ocean, but it makes a big impact on the ground. Through the work that we've been doing with Aquifer Foundation, we support around about 50 young people as part of the work that we do in terms of supporting the education fees and supporting the work that they do. We'd like to increase that number. £15, it's not a huge amount, but it makes a big impact on the ground. You've got the QR code there. We're doing this, and I have to say, it's a massive credit to my parents. I don't know the first thing about setting up a charity. It's massively labour intensive, and the amount of work that goes in. But through formalising it, I asked the question to Mum and Dad, why are we going to the effort of trying to put this structure in place and going with the charity commission and that sort of thing? Can we not just do it ourselves and kind of keep it quite low key? It's that system change. Through 4 years of work, they've been able to drive this level of impact. And when I see buffer being represented in KPK as one of the first areas where, for example, the refuse collection is there, when I look at the recent Eid celebrations, we had, there is the Qurbani, which is the sacrifice of animals for one of the religious festivals. Now you can imagine there's no bins, there's no refuse, so what happens to parts of the animals? It's left to the side. Through the initiative that literally my dad did, we got the local community to establish, working with the municipality, to have actual refuse bags to come and take all of these parts of the animals. Apologies to those who are inclined this way, but it was the first time where, sorry, this is ad-lib, so I wasn't expected to be talking about this, so it was the first time where this had been done anywhere in the whole of KPK. And now it's been, KPK is one of the 4 districts, or one of the 4 regions within Pakistan. It was the first time within the country, I can say that this has been done. And now, everybody after the fact was saying how amazing it was in Buffer, that it was the first city where we didn't have any problems that come after the fact. And now it's kind of like saying to others in local towns and communities, what are we going to do for next year? And that's the lasting change that I want to see that happens in Pakistan. We've got to start somewhere, start with small projects, but it's now having that lasting impact. And that's what I look forward to, having your support for Aquifer Foundation and carrying it forward as we go forward. Thank you very much. Give it to
Thank you. My name's Gail, and I'm very proud to have been able to be involved with Farhat and Iqbal from the beginning in this project. The other day I said jokingly to Iqbal when he was talking, Iqbal, you can't govern Pakistan from St Albans. But after watching this, I'm not at all sure. I think maybe some of these influences may well take root in the country, not just in Baffa. And the idea of the rickshaws for collecting the rubbish is incredible. The bore wells that you're managing is just, it's an ongoing project, and it's just wonderful to see that. What was the last thing you were showing us? You were talking about there? I haven't got a memory.
Warm Winter campaign?
Yeah, it wasn't that one.
The disposal of the animal sacrifices.
The disposal of the animal sacrifices, it sounds like the idea of collecting the rubbish is something that might be taken up in other areas, through other districts. And how incredible that they've used the concept of Susfest to influence the community there. Just brilliant. Well done.
Do we have any questions? Questions, anybody?
How do we pay for the? How do we pay money into the donation fund? Is it advertised anywhere?
You've got the QR code.
If you take it, if you focus on the screen.
Yeah, you've got the QR code, and we're going to be posting it on social. It's just a new campaign that's literally launched yesterday, so you'll be able to find details online. Please.
In your part of in that part of Pakistan,
Yeah.
with its geography, is it a particularly difficult mountainous area, or is it very typical?
Yeah, I think it's a good question that you asked. So there's 4 provinces in Pakistan. KPK, which was also known as the Northwestern Frontier Province. That's to the northwest, so if you imagine towards the Hindu Kush and the Himalayan mountains. That's the area that we're talking about. You also have Punjab, Sindh and Balochistan as the other three areas. Now, because it's in the northwest, it's a particular mountainous area. Buffer is located at the foothills of the Karakoram Mountains, so it's literally just at the start of the mountainous belt. Flowing through it, you have the River Siran, which is it flows into one of the major rivers a bit further down. Hence why it's susceptible to that flooding. Now, one of the pictures that I'm not sure that we've got, maybe previous one. Go back one. Good one. Back again. No. Okay. A different set of pictures. One of the projects that kind of came about is we do know that obviously flooding is specifically susceptible towards flooding. Encroachment, so people building on areas which are flood susceptible, and also maintenance of drainage sewers is really, really important. One of the projects that kind of spun up from Buffer Environmental Forum was literally the maintenance of these areas and also looking at the encroachment areas as well. So there's a picture of a before and after of where there's literally a canalway or waterway just by the side road that's literally being cleaned up. So very overgrown and that sort of thing. But again, starting somewhere, making those changes. Please.
You started obviously focusing on the flooding,
Yep.
but then later you say that the groundwater is decreasing.
Yeah.
Now, is this a result of climate or more people abstracting water, or
It's a bit of both.
sort of contradiction?
Yeah. So I had this question as well about the water wells. Like, why are we doing water wells? Should we be focusing on boring because it's more sustainable as such? Pakistan is susceptible on two sides. One on the flooding side, so monsoon rains and cloudburst, and then also in the summer you have incredible droughts. Now, when we talk about droughts, it's 45 degrees in the major cities. Normally, in the summer, people travel from the cities towards our area because it's cooler. So when we were kids, it was sort of like approaching 25 degrees in the summer. That sort of, a nice sort of like temperature. Just this year gone by, it hit 40 degrees in the village. Right? So when we talk about, there is a massive challenge in Pakistan as being one of those climate-affected countries. The highest number of glaciers outside of the poles is in Pakistan. So you can imagine that as the temperature rises, those glaciers are going to get affected, and part of the recent challenges between India and Pakistan was the Indus waterway, which was around how water is going to be allocated across the two different countries. So increasingly it's going to become more and more of a problem. Now, your question with the water table, yeah, it's reducing because of floods are not replenishing the water table. It simply just goes further downstream. And through efforts like the reforestation projects, that's where we can look to reduce the impact of the flooding, but also help sustain the water table, keep some of that water in place. I think that there's got to be massive works around reservoirs, some of the systems that we have here in the UK to try and retain some of that water. But I give a small example, and it's no reflection on wars or anything like that, but one of the contributing factors towards the flooding that happened recently in Pakistan was that India opened up one of the dams, and that had an impact downstream, affecting both parts of India and also Pakistan. In one particular area, in the Punjab area, which is where my wife is from, they actually ended up flooding huge amounts of farmland to protect Lahore, which was going to be actually inundated with water. So, you know, there's lots of problems, lots of challenges. We've got to do our little bit. And what our little bit is, 20 wells affected, let's at least make sure that people can get access to clean water so that they can do that. And working with the university, working with the experts on how we can do that, you know, that was something that, hold on a minute, we never thought of this idea, it's never been done before. How do we make sure that at least people have access to clean water? So we went to the local university, spoke to a professor there, and he said, this is what you need to do, these are the tests that you need to do, put that in place. 20 wells covered, it's something, you know. The knowledge isn't there. Yeah.
Is building a reservoir going to be Iqbal's next project? and we can see that Buffer starts to become a model for some of the other rural mountainous villages in the area, and may well be something that the government starts to take notice of.
One of the things which, thank you very much, Faisal. Thank you very much for your lovely presentations and covering the vast amount of things in a half an hour presentations. Thank you very much for that. Your question was about reservoir. When I went on my late visit, I said, you know, what you can do with the rainwater and the flooding is to actually have some sort of a obstruction to put to this water which is running through. And to my surprise, when I was on a walk and I saw 2 reservoirs in the mountainous area which they have actually in place. So I shared that to the group, Environmental Awareness Forum, said I thanked them actually. I said these are the things, smaller steps which you can use and do that, build reservoir. And it's a building resilience basically, and this flooding will happen. And it will increase. Cloudburst we haven't heard of. But now the question is, yes, that will be the project which they're thinking about it, how to implement that. So we will be working on that with the Buffer Environmental Awareness Forum. But thank you. Any other question?
Coming back to your tree planting, is it deforestation that's helped it become, you know, more a flood risk? It's more desert areas, or is it something that you're doing to just increase the amount of trees in the area?
It's both. Right?
Can you repeat the question?
The question was around the reforestation. Now, on the reforestation, is it contributing towards the climate issues that exist there in terms of the flooding side of things? Hopefully I've recapped it. Okay. On the reforestation, there's 2 sides of it. One is the more trees that you plant, it obviously affects the ambient temperature. So I think there was a fun fact that I had. 1 tree is equivalent to 6 to 8 degrees of temperature change around the actual tree itself. And if you take that one step forward, it actually replaces the number of AC units that is actually required. So overall drop in the ambient temperature is one of the things. It's actually one of the projects that I'm doing with work at the moment is Melbourne University have a problem around temperatures and the increasing temperatures in Melbourne, Australia during the summer. And what they've actually done is they've actually gone on this massive drive to, again, make the city of Melbourne more green, because it's going to get warmer, and the only way that they can do it in a sustainable way is to plant more trees. So I take inspiration from that to say that's one side of it. The other side of it is obviously when you have more trees, it actually reduces somewhat, and there's anecdotal evidence around this, reduces somewhat the runoff in relation to the floods. It also helps with the drying up of the soil as well, in order to help restore the land to its natural use. So these are some of the areas that we can help. 4,000 trees is a start. It's thankfully quite reasonable to plant some trees in Pakistan. You know, some of the cost is like £300 to plant like a 300 trees or something along those sorts of lines. We're going to be doing a big push for this in 2026 because that's, you know, with the flooding especially, it's timely to ensure that ahead of the monsoon season next year, we can try and see what we can do. This is where I say, it's the change that you want to make. You plant the tree now, and hopefully it will have an effect 20 years from now. And it's through those young people saying that they can actually plant the trees, and they can actually get involved in this, and they will benefit from this. Because I kind of see it from the point of view of my parents are working on this. They want it to be a better place for Pakistan, for Buffer, but I also see it's about the future generations. And that's one of the things that certainly, you know, with the youngsters, we want to get them more involved in the projects because it's impacting on the ground. And when they see the actual change happening, then that's when it becomes meaningful. Okay.
And I think which would be very good, because as I was the mayor for the city of district, so you know, one of the things which I have seen the tree warden in here. The district council have a tree warden, so I'm just thinking about when we are distributing these trees to the local community, why don't we have a tree wardens which can go and check what's the status of these trees? So that's something which I'm thinking in my head in the future. And I think the tree plantation, it started with Farha. You know that the Imran Khan tree tsunami, which is 1 billion tree tsunami, and we started, and we work with a local, that's not that is local to global. We work with the faith community in St. Albans, and we have planted trees in Highfield Trust. And that is about 120 trees we planted, and they are now growing. So we're learning from here, and we're implementing and taking this learning to Buffer. And that's what this is called local to global connecting community. Shared learning, and that's my dream is to how do we do that? And now we see that these are coming to fruition. So I'm very, very delighted that, you know, we are working on it, and these children will take that to the next generations, and I think that will be impacting the local communities and helping. Any other questions? Yes.
In the local community, what percentage of people are needing, like, to feed themselves by growing on allotments?
I think I don't have to say, but I think generally because it's the agricultural land.
Yes.
We are lucky to have agricultural land, and you can say it's a very fertile land. But the people here, the fellow was talking about, you know, why don't we do a food smiley type of programs in working with the ladies? I think she could elaborate on that.
Hilary, could you please repeat your question, because that's my area of work that I do.
Well, I said within the local population, like, how important is it to be able to grow your own food?
It is really important for those people because, you know, we have a large amount of community as we go each year. For the last 3 years, we've been going regularly, and now I realise how many people are living below poverty line. And one of the things that I have picked up is from obviously part of sustainability groups. We have a project here called Food Smile, where the community comes and grow food together. And I have this idea that which I hope to implement in coming time for the community, because for me, there is a culture difference. What I learn from here, when I go to implement there, I have to learn that culture. So I have got that idea, but, you know, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. And what I done is, learning from the Food Smile, I encourage the local community ladies to have a little rooftop garden. When I talk about roof garden, because in Pakistan all the roofs are flats and all the houses are made of concrete, because this is another area that I will pick up with Judith, you know. In 2009, Pakistan was hit by, our area, specific Buffer, was hit by a massive earthquake. All the old houses were gone that were made of clay, mud or wood and things. Those houses are gone. All the new houses are made of solid concrete, and these flat roofs are flat. So the ladies didn't have, in the olden days, they used to have courtyard where they can grow herbs and things like this. They don't have courtyard because everything's been cemented over. So what I did is 2 years ago when I went and I talked to the local ladies and I said, how about doing a little bit roof gardens? So we started that, and I was really pleased that on this visit, the 4 houses on the road I live, they got a little plot on top of their roof. And I felt that that's a start, and we will carry on, And the reason we brought Faisal in today, because it's 10 years of sustainability, success, and we looked at the past, and today we thought it's really good time to introduce future, and it's working with future generations. So me and Iqbal will do the background work, and we want Faisal and rest of the community. We have asked some members from our local community to come on board and do some work with us. And we got our other son, who I didn't realize he was here. So it's a family thing at this moment, but what we're encouraging is the community to join us in our journey. And I want to say especially thanks to Gail. Gail's been, when I came up with the idea, it started in COVID. Local to global started in COVID. If you all remember, we couldn't all meet each other and things like this. And the first presentation we did on local to global, me and my colleague Rashna, we did it online, and she did a talk on Bangladesh and I did a talk on Pakistan. And that's how it just started. So it's been about 4 years, coming up to our 5th year, and I'm really surprised how much work we've done. And it's collaboration with other organizations. We can't just we're not taking any credit, because we just have an idea and we go and implement it. And we're really pleased that, we got 88 people on that buffer environmental group. That's really achievement. That's Iqbal doing it. And don't forget the culture in Pakistan, where we are from Northwest, is totally different, because there's some very much men world out there. So women are usually kept behind the scene. But I've been very fortunate that I've been able to go into girls' education institutions and university, and I can start building on that. So I hope that answers your question. I've taken so much of time. Okay, so thank you so much. Another question.
Do you have beavers in Pakistan?
Do you have beavers? My brother is actually working on that side of this thing. He is a scout. Oh, beavers. Oh, animal beavers, or that's a good
Real
question.
animals.
Animal beavers. Okay, 2 different things.
Thinking about the problem of runoff, they are incredible engineers at creating
dams,
obstructions, but I don't know if the
Might
climate.
not be natural then.
It will be something to look into.
There are Boy Scout beavers, aren't there?
Yeah, I was going to say my brother's a scout leader, so if there was a connection to that side of things, then we could bring that in. But this is where it all starts from, just an idea, just to look into it. See, this is one of the things that I actually really, really admire about being fortunate enough to be born and raised in the UK, is we've been able to benefit from the UK, but also to try and make a change back home as well. Yes. And it's about taking both of the opportunities. Yes. So very, very fortunate in that regard.
Well, introducing non-indigenous animals can be quite a dangerous thing to do.
Yes. Yeah.
But maybe there are animals in Pakistan that can do that sort of thing, which can be encouraged.
I think this is where it all starts from. We have a problem. How can we solve the problem? The reforestation was just like, okay, let's grow more trees, because that's an easy thing for us to get in and do. I think now, when we say the system change, this is where it's almost activating on a local level. The NGOs, the grassroots organisations, the charities, all coming together to try and make that impact. I think that's where I'd like to see system change kind of, I think Claire, you were pointing about how do we address the runoff and how can we look at it? Something that we've got to look at. But at the moment, it's kind of like there's a very, very small amount of volunteers and people working on this. That's where we want to go to the next stage to say, how can we scale this and grow it out? Okay. Thank you very much.
I was going to say, never mind bags for Buffer, you've got beavers for Buffer now.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we agree that was very, very interesting to hear, and it makes you really proud that you're part of SUSFest and what this organisation has been able to do to pass on to Pakistan. Really well done. It sounds amazing. Thank you very much. Really interesting.